Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I hope you all are very excited. I know that I certainly am. I do sound a little bit groggy, but we are here. Introducing Tammy and Bernelle. We are still waiting for Lee. She is actually in a meeting with a client, but she will hop on when she's ready. Today's webinar will be all about chatting about Black Friday deals, how to maximize on your deals, how to save in advance, if there's any additional things that you need to save for, such as travel insurance, your flights in advance, etc. We will be answering all those questions. Please feel free to pop us any questions in the Q&A section, and we will be more than happy to answer these for you. And I hope you're all very excited. Tam, B, how are you guys doing?
Very good, Mishka. Hello, everyone. How are you guys today?
Yeah, it's Friday. I'm doing great. And I hope everybody's doing well. I'm just excited to be part of this information session.
And that's exactly what it's going to be, but we will be very fun about it. We are very fun people. We'll always have fun when sharing information. So I guess the first thing that people would want to know is it worth waiting for a Black Friday special?
So in many cases, a lot of people tend to wait for any form of a special. And what often happens is you're waiting for some special that may or may not come in, only to find that flights and other things may increase in price. So very often what happens is you're putting your eggs in one basket, but not really considering the bigger picture to, a longer overland tour that may be departing anytime from now into 3 months. If you are looking at traveling like soon, it's not really worth it unless you're getting a Black Friday deal on the flights and a Black Friday deal on your tour. And again, that's not always guaranteed that that's going to happen. So a lot of people hold back, wait for a special that doesn't come, only to pay so much more for flights and still not get a discount on the tour itself.
That's very true.
Exactly.
And B, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's exactly as Tammy was saying. I think you sometimes run the risk if, maybe if there's a Black Friday on your flight, but now you're also waiting for your tour or the other way around, so then it may not work out that way, all at once.
I see what you mean. So, but would you say that there are any advantages of a Black Friday special if you've maybe planned in advance?
So that's 100% true. So if you are looking at taking a sabbatical, if you are looking at traveling for a long period of time, anything over 20 to 50 days, waiting for a Black Friday special for tours departing between March to June, great time of the year to do a long adventure like that, just by the way, especially starting in Cape Town and heading up to Nairobi, just saying. But if you are planning on doing a tour longer than 20 days, as I say, up to, 50, 60 days, you most certainly...
Welcome.
Sorry, I was just finishing off on that call. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope the call went well.
It went very well. We were talking about, it's funny, the same topic we were talking about yesterday. I'm hijacking this, but about whether to do a self-drive through Africa or to do an overland tour, because this client actually has done a lot of self-drives in the past, and she's like, she usually does, but she doesn't feel like it's right to do it through Africa, not knowing enough about it. And I was like, definitely go with this group, so we're chatting about the differences.
That's awesome. That is very good convincing there.
I didn't just say just do the group. I did tell her why.
Of course.
Did you talk about budgeting with self-drives versus overland tours?
I did, but also because she wants to do such an epic long journey, to hire a car, in Kenya and to drive down to South Africa is just not feasible. Like, it's just going to cost you so much money. So So we did discuss that a little bit, and she was very interested. She was worried she was going to be shuffled along like a European coach tour, and that's what she kind of didn't want. You know, like you got to look at that site and go look at that site. And I was like, well, you never know what you're going to get in Africa, because you're probably going to see lions or something, and then nobody's going to want to move from that spot for a while. So definitely not going to be the same experience.
And also just the socializing of joining a overland tour. I think
Exactly.
a lot of people love that, and you're not going to get that really when you're doing a self-drive.
Exactly. And I said to her, you know, if you self-drive through a park, one, I wouldn't recommend it as a first timer, and two, if you get a flat tire, you get stuck, you have to wait till someone comes past. You know, like you can't get out your vehicle.
Oh, you changed it. Come on. Like,
No, you changed it.
You changed it, Tammy. You know how to change it. We don't know how to change it.
I'm not moving from that vehicle. I'm staying there.
okay, so Lee, as you came in, we were busy talking about what are the benefits of Black Friday and planning for it, waiting for it, and more so the benefits and not the disadvantage, because we already spoke about the disadvantages of waiting and the expense along with flights and so on. So what I was getting in with the advantage of waiting is, especially when you are planning on doing a longer tour, there is a benefit to waiting. If you are looking at traveling between March to June, which is typically when a lot of those Black Friday specials fall onto those sort of date ranges, it's beneficial in that period of time. One, because if you were to start such a long tour in Cape Town, going up to Nairobi, for instance, you get in the special, you are on the cuff and the shoulder season of like busy season and peak season in Cape Town. So flight prices generally do drop because there aren't as many people, you know, coming into Cape Town. And yeah, I mean, same can be said with Nairobi. You're on shoulder season, and you know, if we're looking at April to June, it's actually rainy season. It's not actually a terrible time to travel, except you do have to prepare for some rain. So that's sort of where I was going. Do you have anything to add to that?
I was just thinking about what you said about the first thing that came to me is like it's not a high season to fly into Cape Town. What I found in the past, or what people should maybe consider, is Cape Town is really a hub for South Africa in terms of, even if it's not big for a tourist time or time of year, it might be the Two Oceans Marathon, or it might be the Argus, and flights are a nightmare at those times of year, and the city is busy. So if your trip's going to coincide with that, try and book as early as possible.
Yes.
And I think another thing to consider is it also comes down to availability. You know, if you are waiting and waiting and waiting for that Black Friday sale, other people have already booked onto those trips. As you guys know, our 2025 trips, there are some dates that are already fully booked.
Yeah, that one for July next year.
Exactly. And so you're running the risk of waiting for that sale or any other sale, whether it's a Black Friday sale or any other sale, to come in. But then at the same time, you know, those seats are being booked by other people. So I think that's also an important factor to consider. We can provisionally, when you are inquiring and you kind of, you know, can I wait a few days? We can, you know, potentially hold your seat for 5, 6, 7 days, but then that's it. Then other people, especially when you're looking at, you know, if it's a, I think it's for both, whether it's your smaller group tours, whether it's your bigger tours. I think people have realized that, or let me say this, I think people are planning ahead, and they're planning ahead by a lot. I've got people that have already booked for September next year. I've got a client, 2 people that have booked for December next year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that's, you know, there's a lot to be said for that. So I think that's an important consideration to sort of make when you are thinking of sale
Uh,
prices.
You say that, and I noticed yesterday that one of our suppliers has dates for 2026 out.
Yeah.
Like people are definitely planning in advance, and especially if you are doing such a big trip,
Yeah.
rather do that, because if that price is out and you're securing that 2026 price, rates might go, but you've got that price. So you might actually be saving yourself more than a Black Friday sale.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean,
You
just on that note, though, those dates that are already issued out for 2026, they are 100% going to go up, because right now they're marked on the current rate.
True.
We've got what is it, dynamic pricing as well,
Yeah.
that comes into play.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at planning and traveling in 2026, get there, do it. You're already buying the tour at a very low discounted rate as it stands in 2024 and or early 2025. Again, dynamic pricing, where those, as soon as people start booking onto them, that's going to rise. The price is going to increase. What is very true, what we've noticed as well, just by doing this for so many years, very often, most people want to travel over European summer, American summer. They want to come down to Southern Africa or East Africa for peak wildlife periods, which does sort of fall within the early July, late June, early July marker to October, mid-October. And those tours, because they sell out as is without any discounted prices, they don't go on discount. So what happens is a lot of people, families, if you're traveling with 5 people, yes, it's expensive to travel. Like, wow, man. And there are many ways to plan around that. Coming in shoulder season is great because you can still get that discount. So shoulder season in Southern Africa, that's March to June, basically.
And also the weather's quite good.
Exactly. That's my favorite time to be in the Kruger, for instance. Like it's still warm, you still got like a little bit of rain, but the animals are like, oh, welcome, the grass is green, everything's amazing,
They're more welcoming at that time of year.
Yeah, there's lots of babies around as well. Like, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about that time of the year, is the bush is just beautifully green, and all the young that are around. And whether we like to hear this or not, if the young are around, it also brings out the predators, people. So,
I've literally just said that, and then I felt really bad saying that.
No, this is what I preempted, but it's the circle of life, right? It's nature. It's how it works. So, yeah.
It's always exciting.
All we're missing now is just coming in and singing the circle of life. That's
I literally said I was going to break out into song here,
but Tam, I think you should just explain a little bit what dynamic pricing means, because not everybody might know that term.
That's true.
Quite honestly, like if you get to know me, you'll realize that I'm terrible with my words, and I always use very different words for what they're supposed to be. Dynamic pricing is most certainly the correct terminology, 100%. Okay. And what that means is it's something that we see very often with flights. So the more people that book onto something, it simply increases the price. So, Lee, you want to elaborate more? Like, that's how my brain simply translates.
Yeah, so the first few seats will be maybe a 50% off, and then the next few will be a 75% off, and then the fuller it gets, the less the discount. So it can work against you if you're holding out for that big special, because it's actually, you're just losing more. Not everybody operates that way, obviously, with dynamic pricing, but it does make sense to book in advance and get the best discount. Yeah, I mean, look, everybody loves a last minute special, but what you save yourself on the tour, you're probably paying for on the flight, because they've just done that dynamic pricing and their prices have gone up because they've got full.
Actually, just going on to last minute pricing. You know, we're seeing it within the European market right now, or, you know, most prolific within the European market, where people are going, okay, cool, I want to travel next week. I want to travel in 2 weeks from now, you know,
Yeah.
and you're going, okay, well, we're talking about the availability aspect, which is it's so difficult to find a tour available within your date range. Okay.
Mm.
But then you're going, oh, because I'm going to travel last minute, I'm filling a seat, I should get a discount. Because, I mean, I understand that logic. Absolutely. I'm not going to fight with it. You know, I've got a little bit of, you know, discounting blood in my body, so I know it too well.
I love a sale.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Love a sale.
I'll drive a couple kilometers for a good sale, you know. But what we see is there's this expectation of discount for these last minute tours, and we very often find it quite difficult to match our travelers the right way with the right tour. So you would like to go to X, Y, and Z, but right now your dates will only allow for this because all the other tours you're looking at are fully booked. So even waiting for that last minute sale really can work as a disadvantage to you, because you're not going to actually get what you want at the end. So what is it worth? Is the money saving worth the compromised experience you may have?
Yeah.
And that's just something people have to ask themselves.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've seen that some people do, not everybody, but they'll see a really good flight special and they'll just go book flights, and then they're trying to find a tour to fit in those flights. And the problem is sometimes the tours don't start and end in that same spot, you know.
Yeah.
So then you're actually buying another flight to get you back from where your tour ends, if you know there is one. So
Or
yeah.
you're paying fees to change flight dates to accommodate or to facilitate your tour departure.
Yeah, and then you didn't save
you
the
have.
money anyway,
Yeah.
because you've just paid the difference in fees.
Yeah.
So
One thing that I always try and say to my travelers is book your tour before you book your flight. Because once you know your tour is booked.
Oh, I think we lost you.
Is she still there, Tammy?
So now on the line.
You froze.
No.
Froze, like so.
Where did I go?
Before you book your flight, and then you froze, and we were like, "What is it?"
I had so much to say. Oh my gosh. No. So in other words, book your tour before you book your flights. And right now we've seen Black Friday specials come up, and it's very limited time periods. So you've got 1 week, you've got 2 weeks to get this discount, right? If you're planning on shopping over Black Friday, move money into your credit card now. Move money into your bank account now. Don't have it sitting in like your savings account where you've still got to have a couple days for that money to move over. Okay? Like, have the money sitting there, be ready to like click.
To go.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I just want to piggyback off of that. Once, let's say you're planning and you've like moved the money into the credit card and you've now got your tour, and you're dealing with your consultant, how long would a person have to confirm their booking on that special if they do manage to secure a deal?
Good question. It's a very good question.
Well, if you're looking at a Black Friday sale, you're going to have to secure it right away. There's no time because while you're thinking about it, the other person is already add to cart, payment, off you go. You know, so like Tam was saying, it takes planning ahead, moving your finances, because we all know, you know, it's like going into a supermarket, and I don't know, there's like my favorite thing to get on Black Friday, guys, is washing powder. You know?
Yes.
Yes,
and toilet paper.
There's people lining up. So if you don't have it in that cart and you go, oh no, I'm just going to walk around to the other aisle to see, and then you come back and it's gone, you know? So you pull that trigger right away.
And it's even worse with the special is like only 3 per customer.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say, I was just gonna say exactly that. So yeah, it's very important to plan ahead when you want to get that Black Friday sale.
Definitely true. Definitely true. Cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Karen.
yeah, and I was going to say, like, there's nothing wrong with asking about them now, because some suppliers have actually indicated what they are, not all of them, but we might already know what those are going to be, or if they are available now. So don't wait for that last weekend to hope it's going to get better. It's not. Some of them have set them for the month already.
Yes. I mean, we've already got that 30% special going. So whoever's listening, grab on, guys. Add to cart now. And what are your opinions on, obviously working with us, you have certain advantages, pros and cons of working with AOT. Obviously, there's more pros than there are cons. Like we obviously absorb your credit card fees, for example. So how could that help you in aiding your budgeting and your planning for booking your tour?
I think what I do with a lot of my clients when it comes to like budgeting and payments and that type of thing, if you planning a tour, let's say you're starting to think about it now and you want to travel, let's say July, August next year, we are very flexible with regards to our payments and our payment system. It's a very secure system. We've got multiple currencies that you can pay in, multiple ways that you can pay. And what I like to do, because I also think about myself, you're a family person, you've got kids, you've got, everybody's got other things that they need to pay. This is a luxury. There's, school fees and all those things. So I often say to clients, if you're planning ahead and you're booking ahead of time, we're happy to do 10, 20, 30% deposit. Talk to us. Let us know what will work best for you. And then your final payment is due 75 days before the time. But if you don't want to hold on to, well, listen, if you're anything like me, you don't want to hold on to that money because, next month I want to get this. Next month, I'll save this money, but let me just spend it on that. You can, again, have a chat. We can work out a plan where you can do monthly payments. I've had clients where they do $1,000 or €1,000 every 2 weeks or every month. And so you kind of pay off that plan. So then when it comes to 75 days before the time, that's when you're making your last small payment, or by then you've done it, you've paid everything. So we definitely have that flexibility. We're not one size fits all. We're happy to listen to what will work best for you, and we're going to make it work because we are excited for you to come and experience the magic that we know is happening here on the continent. So
and also just knowledge and experience. I mean, if you go onto live chat with a number of suppliers, a lot of those people aren't actually in Africa or they've never traveled here. They're answering basic questions. They don't have the first-hand experience. So for example, I was chatting to a client who wants to do like this epic 40-day, and she's like, but I really like this one itinerary because it goes to the Zimbabwe side and the Zambian side, and that's important to her. And I was like, well, did you know you can actually just cross over because you've got 2 days there. So you could cross over to the other side on your own and you can do this. You can take your taxi across. But somebody on a live chat system probably wouldn't know that. They wouldn't know how easy that is or how short that distance is. So I would say knowledge and experience, like between our team, like far superior to what you would get, directly. And we're going to tell you honestly, like, this tour is not for you. Rather do this other one.
And we've all been on the road. We've all been on multiple routes. Tam, you were a guide for, I don't know, 500 years. You've crisscrossed, Southern and East Africa, everything there is. Lee, we've been on multiple overlap. It's that knowledge of, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it tastes like, what that sunset the emotions it brings up. It's, you know, sitting on the truck with like-minded travelers and chatting, and that excitement. I mean, it's goosebumps, you know, it's like that excitement of being on the road. We can honestly tell you what it's about because we've lived it, we've experienced it over and over and over. So
I think just to add to all of that as well, like one thing that I always find so important is the team dynamic that we have. So we, although, you know, someone may not know this answer necessarily offhand, we have such a great team dynamic that we're able to just like sort of work through it together as a team. So very often, although you may be working with me as a traveler, you're working directly with me, you may be asking questions that I couldn't answer right now, but I'll quickly ask the team and we'll have like all the answers. So it's not just, we're not just individuals. We are such a powerhouse as a team and as a community. And there's just this aspect of like, all this need for us to make people happy. Like, and this is why we all work so well together as a team. And it's also why our travelers are always happy. Like, we go the extra mile. We make sure that all your questions are answered. We make sure that you are ready for your adventure in such a way that many travelers will go, wow, when you're on the vehicle with them. They'll go, wow, like a hot water bottle, that's a great idea, you know, and then you'll say, but Tam told me to bring a hot water bottle because it's cold. And it's those type of things, you know, it's like bring the buff because of the dust. You know, we're not just thinking about the sail. We're not just thinking
the bottom line.
We're thinking about your comforts. Like we're going the extra mile because again, we just want people to be super happy and like enjoy Africa as we know it, like Bernelle said.
Yeah.
And then final thing, I had something, but I've now forgotten it as I started discussing it, you know.
It happens.
As it so happens. I'll remember it while we're chatting about something else.
I just want to piggyback off of the ideas you gave in terms of what to pack. So the water bottle, the buff. Obviously people think, okay, I'm going on tour, I'm going to need to go to the shop and buy a whole used fire suit. What are your opinions on that? Like, what do you think that they should actually be packing?
I have one tip though. Don't buy camouflaged outfits. Because some people think that they should, because it makes sense because they're going on safari and these are the colors, you know, but it's just really not accepted in a lot of countries because it's so similar to actual military uniform that it can be a little bit of an issue. Don't buy camouflage, but if you want to buy the khaki and the green stuff, go for it. Somebody asked me the other day, can I wear colors on the 4x4? And I was like, absolutely. Wear whatever you're comfortable in. I mean, obviously not pink high heels because you got to climb on and off that vehicle. Wear comfortable shoes. Wear what you're comfortable in. You're going to be sitting in it while you're looking at game. You know, it needs to be a comfortable outfit.
But also don't go and blow your budget on, I've got to buy everything new. You know, this is the African road. It's bumpy, it's dusty, it's, you know, if there's one or two things that you want to get, but bring your clothes that you already have in your cupboard, you know, and don't feel obligated to get, you know, I think we live in this time of like, you know, social media. And sometimes when I watch people planning for a trip, they're like, oh, I'm going to buy all new because I want to take this picture in this outfit. I don't feel that is what the continent requires, you know, come in, and what overlanding requires, come in your comfy clothes, come in your clothes that you are fine with getting dusty and dirty on the road. You know, if it's an item that you like, oh, I really leave it at home. Don't bring it. No.
Just to add to that as well, though, you know, it's When you're doing any overland tour, there are going to be days and nights where you're going to restaurants, for instance, as it's not part of your tour, but you're going to go to a restaurant. You don't have to dress up for that. It's not 5-star. I mean, put in some makeup on and put in some jewelry on, best. Okay. I used to love it when I was on the road. I always looked like a rasta with my curly hair, and I just had dust everywhere, and and I'd always be wearing my khakis, and not always, but a lot of the time. And when I got to a city, I used to like just putting a pair of jeans on and a shirt, making myself look pretty. But jeans and a shirt, I didn't necessarily you don't need to dress up. You don't need to bring fancy clothing if you're doing an overland tour. There are a couple other tours that may require you to dress up. If you're doing, for instance, the Blue Train Rovers Rail, there is an attire, there is a standard, but that's for your consultant would tell you about that anyways. But for the most part, any accommodated or camping overland tour, you don't need to dress up. If you bring a pith hat, I would love you forever, but that's just because I love a pith hat.
Cool.
But you do not need it for a safari in Kenya and Tanzania, but it really does.
But it would
really
look awesome.
Yeah.
I think if you're talking about sort of budgeting and what to bring, I think if the things that you should consider, I guess, spending your money on is, as we all know, soft-sided bags is required when you're going on an overland trip. Not your beautiful hard shell Samsonite bags or, Calpac or whatever these brands are called. Just your soft-sided bag, because when you're packing, it needs to be malleable.
Yeah, multiple.
Whether that means it's going into your own sort of little personal locker, or whether it's going into a fairly small storage area where multiple bags are being packed. So consider spending your money on that. If you're doing a camping tour in the winter season, consider spending your money on a very good sleeping bag that's going to keep you warm and toasty during those colder months. During the days, you're going to have lovely days. It's not going to be hot, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be pleasant. But once that sun sets, you want want that coziness around you. So consider then rather spending money and budgeting for those things.
Well, what you were just saying about it's not going to be hot. You probably will still get hot days, because I always think about obviously where I live in South Africa, and we have hot winter days. And I know last year, the very first stop we stopped at, and I always say this to people considering camping and accommodated, it was hot. It was hot, and I had to put up a tent, and the people that were in the accommodation all went to the swimming pool. There was a swimming pool there, and I was like, oh man, I just want to go up to the swimming pool, but if I don't set up my tent now, I'm setting it up in the dark,
Yeah.
So
no, that's why I said your days are hot, warm,
you need sunblock.
Sun dips. Yeah.
Sort of pack for all seasons.
Well, it's layering, right? When you travel in winter, you layer. So you will wear, one of my favorite pairs of pants, I'm not sure what the brand is, but nearly every German traveler who really likes to be on safari and in Africa will own these pairs of pants and the
trousers.
Well, it's those ones that have the zips around the knees.
Yeah.
And
like those cargo.
Yes. Yeah, those cargo pants with the zips around the knees. Those things are next level for winter, because you wake up in the morning, you've got your long trousers on, and then you just zip your legs off and you're comfortable. But layering. But then secondly, what we do find is many travelers talking about budgets and talking about how we save money. Many travelers do like to book a camping tour, and in many cases, the camping and the accommodated tours, if you're doing the long haul overland tours, so if you're doing the 20, 22 and up day tours, let me start again. On many on many tours, you're sharing both accommodators and campers on the same vehicle. Okay.
Yep.
What happens then is people go, oh, well, in mid to late July, we're going to camp because we love camping. And if you are ready to camp, and if you are an avid camper and have gone to Norway and, Finland and camped, and in the winter, you will be able to enjoy it. Okay. What I had, I've actually had it a couple times where travelers have said, oh no, we'll save up by booking the camping tour and we'll just upgrade along the way, which is often possible. But in busy season, again, talking about July through to October, the lodges themselves have limited availability. So you may not be able to upgrade on that day, for instance. But now you're in the middle of Namibia, or you're in the middle of Botswana, and the coffee water in the metal kettle, your camping kettle, is freezing overnight, which it did. Okay. That's how cold it can get. I mean, it's really adverse, but I'm not over exaggerating how cold it can get at night.
Yeah.
And I've had it so many times where travelers have got onto on day 1 or even day 3, they're like, Tam, please just upgrade me. I cannot camp another night. It is so cold. So again, we're talking about budget versus comfort. Okay. Do you want to camp and save with the, again, preparation for the winter if you are traveling in winter? If you're traveling in summer, like, camping is fine, but remember, it's so hot. Like, I used to have midnight showers in my clothes and go and sleep on the stretcher completely drenched in water so that I could keep myself cold. That was my natural air conditioning system in camping, like in Botswana, northern Namibia, and in Botswana, that's what I used to do, So again, you've got to go comfort versus budget. What is going to work for you? Are you prepared for the adverse weather, whether it be cold or hot, and camping? If not, do you want to add that extra little bit and have some luxuries such as wall fans, roof fans, and or air cons, and heaters and heating blankets? Like, so you've just got to really ask yourself what is worth it to you, and where you're willing to sacrifice. If
you just reminded me, talking about being cold and stuff, like, I've got a sleeping bag that comes from the UK, so it actually opens out into like a double bed, like, blanket type thing, and I just thought it was so cool because you don't get them in South Africa, but it also clips together to make a sleeping bag. I was so cold in Botswana the one night. I actually landed up getting up and getting out one of those little silver emergency blankets that they put on people. It sounded, I mean, the tent next to me would have heard this rustling the entire night every time I moved. It makes the biggest noise. But I was like, I'm so cold. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it through the night. So, like, but then I spoke to one of the other guy. The guide also said very cold. And one of the travelers from Spain, he's like, no, he was comfortable. He had the right sleeping bag.
Yeah.
He didn't have a problem at all.
My favorite thing is if you're camping in the winter, like, and you don't have a really great sleeping bag, the cheaper thing to do is invest in hot water bottles. Okay. And everyone always feels a little bit bad. They're like, oh, but we've got to ask the guy to make us hot water. So what? The kettle just goes on the fire. Just do that.
Yeah.
I know it seems like irritation, but at the end of the day, your guides will always just be there to help you. And if they understand that you're cold, they're going to go over and above as well to make you comfortable. But hot water bottles was my trick in life. Like I collected hot water bottles, and all my travelers used to buy them and then leave them on the vehicle, and I used to distribute them like candy to all my other travelers. I was like, yeah, have a hot water bottle, you know.
You get a
You want a hot water bottle, you want a hot everybody gets a hot water bottle, you know.
I can just imagine you, Tam, like looking after all your travelers and handing out hot water bottles and what muffins that you baked over the burning fire. Like, oh my word.
Because in the Okavango Delta,
Yeah.
you know,
Your travelers are spoiled.
Yeah.
Not everyone has a skill to bake over an open fire. I mean, that's not easy.
For sure.
Really good if you got the right pot, eh?
I mean, sometimes I can't even bake in my normal oven.
Cool, ladies. Just another question that I've got here. Aside from Black Friday deals, why would someone consider an overland trip? And I know that you guys are going to pop off with this one.
Because it's the best way to experience it.
Yeah.
And it really is as simple as that. If you want to see multiple African countries in a, adventurous, comfortable, safe way, female solo travelers, they often ask the question, it is the best way. And for me, it's not just about the destination. It's about everything in between. It's about really experiencing what the route, continent, the area that you're traveling in is all about. What comes to mind for me, I was traveling in Tanzania, and we were going through like a little village. And this is like, you have one of those memories that just stays with you forever. And we were going through like a little town, I guess, and you kind of slowing down, and the kids coming, they're coming from school, and they're like, hi, and ladies on the side of the road, they've got the flute or whatever they've got on the stick so that they can hold it up so that you can just lean out the window. It's those kind of things that you are not going to experience anywhere else. And that is what makes overlanding through Africa. It's just, you can't compare to anything else. It is really the best way to see what the road is all about. And that's the thing. It's not about the destination. It's, yes, getting to that destination and, ticking off or finally seeing this thing that you're really wanting to experience. But I think what surprises a lot of people, and we see it in our feedback, when clients, sort of gives us feedback, it's just being on the road and experiencing what it's all about.
And most of what they say actually is, it was so great with the guide, and it was so good. The people were so nice. It was nice seeing a lion, but it's mostly about the people that they're traveling with, that they're talking about. And the other thing that I was just going to add, because you made me think of it, is if you're doing it on your own, you don't get all that extra experience. So you don't get and I think I said this to Mishka the last time we chatted, like, you don't know why a fever tree is called a fever tree, or you don't have that knowledge. You don't know why that one bird only goes to a certain type of tree, or the guides, like the stories, and sometimes there's even African proverbs that come up and other stories that go with it that makes it so much more interesting than if you're just driving along, because that tree and that rock's going to mean nothing to you if you're just driving past it.
Yeah.
I think just to add to all of that, though, when someone thinks of overlanding, they think of budget. They think that it can be, it's a very well priced way to travel. And so a lot of people may go, oh, well, I'm not going to consider an overland tour. Okay, so for the exact reasons why Bernelle and Lee have just explained, overlanding is the best. But what's also important to know is overlanding is the definition, right? It's a long journey. It's a long travel. That is what overlanding is. we work with operators that do budget travel, that do medium like class, types of travel, and that do high-end travel. So it's about going, okay, cool. Do I want to have this road journey? Do I want to have those fire conversations? Do I want to sort of stay away from, a high-end luxury lodge, which you can still get, but still have that authentic experience like no other? Do an overland tour of any kind, whether it fits within your budget or whether you have, you want to do fly in safaris, we can do that too. But again, it's that experience. It's working with those guides. It's understanding the road. And one of our logos is like, Africa is the road. And it is so true. People ask about cultural experiences, the most cultural experience you will have is looking out the window and really understanding the, like just the dynamic of African life, African culture, seeing how things just work. It's not European. It's not Western. You're not going to see people running around in loin clothing either. Like, we are just a bunch of happy people who just make things happen all the time, and that's just the truth throughout Africa.
Yeah.
Love that, guys. Thank you guys so much. And just to touch on the routes that you guys were speaking of, what are your favorite routes that you should consider trying to budget for, save for, that you just have to, especially if you haven't been to Africa before, it's your first time coming along? What is the route that you absolutely have to do? I think I already know the answer, but
I don't know if I should go first because I'm going to just go with the most obvious.
Go for it.
Cape Town to Big Falls. I love it. I love it. It's such an obvious one, but I think I say it every time. Obviously, like going onwards, because including South and East Africa is just number one if you've got the time to do it. But if not, like break it up and do like Southern Africa. Next time come back, do East Africa. Like totally cool. But Cape Town to Vic Falls has it all for me. Like you've got culture, you've got desert, you've got green waterways. It's so vastly different every part of that journey. It's incredible.
In saying that though, like I'm also quite a fan of a South African tour. Most of the South African tours these days are accommodated. And that's just because the accommodated versus camping, rates in South Africa aren't actually that sort of different. But I like South Africa. I love, starting with Kruger, starting with wildlife. And again, the fauna and the flora within Southern Africa is insane. South Africa in particular, you've got every day that you travel on through South Africa is a day that it completely changes. So you'll be in the mountains one day, then the next day you'll be at the beach, and then the next day you're in the forest, and then you're in like this freaking crazy desert area. It's
Oops.
Damn, what was she gonna say?
What was she gonna say?
The suspense.
Go back.
Yeah.
Drops
Desert
again.
Area. What happens after that?
Well, I mean, you know where I'm going. From the Karoo, we're going down, to the garden routes and
To the coast.
Wildlands.
Yeah, and then again, I think we're seeing some common interest here. A lot of Cape Town love. Cape Town is a nice place to end off with after doing any form of a safari, or to start with, just because it's just so comfortable. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. It's suitable for everyone. So yeah, it's a good intro to to Africa in general.
Not to say that your East Africa roots are, I think East Africa it's something that I've done sort of later on, but I also find that there's just so much magic there. You know, I just think of when I was on the road, the difference between your Maasai warriors, you know, the long shukas versus the short ones with the vibrant colors, the beautiful jewelry that the men and the women wear. The Ngorongoro crater was for me, listen, I was like, okay, that's it. I never have to travel a day in my life again. The crater for me, and I think Andrew also, it's always my highlight. You know, it's like just the mere fact of how this thing, you know, came to be in the first place. You know, part of it feels like you in a tropical rainforest as you're going around the ring road, and then you descending onto the, you know, the clouds give way and you down on the crater floor. And oh gosh, for me it was just amazing. You know,
Jeez, Bernelle, you just sold it for me. I'm like,
I know,
I want to go.
I loved it. I loved it. And then just, you know, when you were, and I can only speak for myself, you know, when you were a child and you growing up reading about, you know, the Serengeti and the Masai Mara and the wildebeest migration, you know, sometimes as a child, for me, you're like, oh, what are these imaginary places? And then when you finally get there, you know, it's like those pinch me moments. It's like, wow, this is for real. You know, I'm here, you know, and you're like in the Serengeti, you're like looking for Pride Rock, and every rock looks like Pride Rock. And you know, guys, there's nothing that compares. Honestly, Africa's we on a different vibration. Yeah, you know.
It's more of a soul journey.
Yes, you know, we watched Wakanda the other day, and he's like, "Oh, Mom, Africa is just something else." So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to choose highlight or the best because it's all just incredible. Everything that all of us said, you know.
I think I'm just going to throw in Botswana as a single isolated destination.
I love it.
It's my favorite.
Mine too, and I didn't expect it. Hey, like it really like was something that just took me by surprise. Before that, I'd been like, Barcelona is my favorite destination, and Edinburgh is my favorite. And I went to Botswana, and I was like, nope, scrap that. Nowhere overseas competes with Botswana. Like it's incredible. Like
I was based in Botswana for like collectively about a year or so, running tours like back to back around Botswana. And you know, by the time you get into the Suvuti, for instance, and you see that same pride of lions, you know, with new sets of cubs, and I created a relationship with Namibia and Botswana. Like we were in a long-term relationship. Okay.
did you break up?
No, we just went. We just mommy and daddy are taking a break. Okay. But like, you know, I guided in Kenya and Tanzania to a two. I traveled around Masai Mara, you know, Serengeti, Ngorongoro, and Bernelle. You're right. Like, there's like this novelty and like just this experience. And the Ngorongoro crater is like mind blowing. You know, you're just like, there's an animal. Like, your vehicle just parks in the middle of the crater and you guys just run around in circles in the vehicle. Like, that's how it is. But in Botswana, I just personally had great camping experiences. In particular, camping. I just want to check, can you guys hear me? Because
yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Keep going.
Okay. But no, like, so Botswana, you know, a lot of people want to do Botswana.
No.
Oh no, we spoke too soon.
As the accommodated tour. But it's the one country. I'm coming. Can you hear me? Can you see?
Yeah, you broke a little bit, but
Breaking up a bit.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
I think I get what Tam's trying to say though. like the camping tours get you really like into the middle of everything, like into all those sites, and you don't have to do like, you don't necessarily have to do like the sorry, that's the work phone. You don't necessarily have to do like that rough camping. Sometimes you can get the fully serviced camping where they're putting up your tents for you, you know. So if you're not comfortable doing that on your own, there are other options. Sorry, Tam, you're back properly now.
I do like the idea of mobile camping versus real camping versus accommodated. You know, we won't go too far into that because that could be a whole different conversation and webinar. But yeah, I mean, if you are a person who likes to be out of the cities, if you are a person who wants to have an adventure and wildlife like no other, if you like to, you know, can you guys hear me? Have I gone again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you froze, but you're talking.
So for anyone listening, I'm actually in the Kruger area.
I was going to ask if you're in the bush already, and that's why.
Pretty much. She's pretty much in the bush.
I am in the bush. I am in the Kruger National Park. But yeah, it's wildlife like no other. It's no cities. It's a genuine experience. So I'm a big advocate for it. And conversation over.
Well, thank you, ladies. I think that we've covered everything that we need to cover. I don't see any questions on the Q&A besides just asking Tammy to sing The Circle of Life.
It might freeze though.
Right. But I'd just like to thank you that you joined. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Thank you, Tam, Lee, and Bernelle for hopping on this last minute webinar with me. I really, really appreciate it. And let's get cooking, guys. Grab your seats, add to cart, and let's go. Just got one question here. Best deals that we can get today, for example?
Deals that we can get today, we're talking about 30%.
Yeah, it's
30%. 30% on selected tours. Reach out to your consultant, make sure that you're asking the right questions, and see what we can offer you.
And be flexible. Be flexible. Yeah.
If you want the deal, you're gonna have to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome.
Thank you,
guys. Awesome. Cool. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you guys have had as much fun as I had. And keep a lookout because there will be more of these.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Mishka. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.